Welcome to this massive open online course on Development Economics 2. Today, we are having our module on Economics and Politics of Multilateral Trade Part 2. Now, after the completion of this module, you will be acquainted with different forms of regional trade among different countries. You can understand and the rationale or the justification behind the formation of, say, preferential trading area or free trade area or, say, any common market, etc. And you will be capable of identifying the positive as well as the negative aspects of regional trade. Now, first, what we observe in our previous module, we have already discussed about the benefits of multilateral trade. Now, despite those benefits, we observe that the world has experienced a continuous growth in regional trade agreements. Okay, now why this particular growth in regional trade agreements? There has been continuous skepticism among different small and less developed economies regarding the attitude of some of the large developed countries towards the less developed or developing countries, okay? And hence, they felt that in many cases, these developed or large capitalist countries, they have not followed the reciprocity principle, which I have already explained in my last module, and the most favored nation clause. Therefore, they felt that if they combine together, if these small countries can form some regional trading agreements, then they will be benefited. So these are the primary thing behind the formation of regional trade agreements. Okay. Now, the question is, there is a pertinent question: can multilateral free trade function efficiently or exist in a world where we observe, say, asymmetry between the large and small firms? Okay. Because the small firms are less powerful, but the large firms are more powerful. Now, can multilateral free trade exist in this asymmetry or this fractional society? Okay, the answer may be yes. Why yes? Because we need more multilateral trade to overcome the difficulty, that inequality in these different types of firms or institutions. And the answer may be no, because in such a world, free trade, though still better than autarky. When there is no trade, free trade is better than no trade, but it is not necessarily efficient in a situation where we observe, say, market power for large, say, firms and small power, bargaining power for smaller firms. Several scholars consider the proliferation of regional trade agreements to be the major challenge to the multilateral trade process. Okay. Now, Jacob Weiner, a famous economist, he has indicated 5 different and successively higher stages of regional economic cooperation, which starts with the preferential trade agreement. Now, what is preferential trade agreement? This is an agreement between some countries where they agree to gradually reduce the tariff and non-tariff barriers for the member countries. Now, the next stage is free trade area, where you observe that the member countries completely abolish the tariff and non-tariff barriers. For example, we observe NAFTA, North American Free Trade Area, or ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. These are the examples of free trade area. The next comes the customs union. What is customs union? This is again a regional trade agreement where the members, okay, they impose common external tariff and non-tariff policy for the non-member countries, okay, which was not found in preferential trade agreement or regional trade agreement. Now, this type of customs union, the examples are CARICOM, that means Caribbean Community and Common Market, the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, or Mercosur. Mercosur is a Spanish word. Mercado Común de Sur, that means the common market of the South, comprising the countries like Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, etc. And then comes the common market. In common market, we observe that in addition to the earlier these features, in this agreement, the member countries, they agree for this easy movement, free movement of the factors of production, okay, across the border, okay, unrestricted factor movements which is allowed within the regional trading bloc, okay. We can give an example, say Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg in 1944. They first established Benelux, which is a common market. The next one is economic and monetary union. Economic and monetary union is the further step towards the regional trade agreement, where the countries unify their fiscal and monetary policies, and they also switch over to a common currency, which we observe, for example, in case of European Union, where euro was considered to be the common currency for all the member countries. There are about 27 countries in European Union. So what we observe in case of regional trade agreements, we observe successively these agreements or different trading types of trading blocks, starting with preferential trade area, then free trade area, then customs union, then common market, economic union, and finally we call it economic integration. What is economic integration? Economic integration is nothing but where all these features are there with additional feature of supranational organizational structure. For example, you will observe in many cases this type of economic integration. So students, we have discussed different forms of regional cooperation, regional agreement, trade agreements. Now, can you give me a real-life example of economic integration which we have just explained? Please think yourself. Now, there are different other, classification of regional trade agreements. One is called as open regionalism, while the other is called as unanimous regionalism. Now, what is open regionalism? Open regionalism means a potential member, any country, can join in any regional trade agreement without the consent of the existing member nations, okay? Anyone can join. That is open to all the potential countries, okay? But in case of unanimous regionalism, if any one country wants to be the member of that particular regional trading bloc, then there must be an unanimous agreement among the existing members. Otherwise, that accession is not possible. So it is to some extent restricted as opposed to the open regionalism. Now, coming to the example of open regionalism. If you take the example of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Organization, which comprises of 18 countries, including some big powers like USA, China, Japan, etc., from its creation, 1989, it has kept its door open for all potential members. But there are both economic and political costs of open regionalism. Now, the economic cost is, for example, say if you give the open chance to any potential member to enter into your bloc, then you do not using your bargaining strength so as to influence the reciprocity principle, okay? That means you will give that country some facilities, so you can expect some reciprocity from that end also. So when you give open entry, you lose that chance. So that is called economic cost of regionalism, open regionalism. As opposed to that, we can give example of unanimous regionalism, for example, the European Union, where the membership is open to all the countries within European nations, but provided each of them must meet that Copenhagen membership criterion, which suggests that any one country which wants to be the member of European Union must possess that human rights and democratic governance, a market economy, and they must accept the obligations and intent of the European Union. Now, from this discussion, can you tell me what would be the political cost of open regionalism? Now, coming to some of the numerical or statistical information regarding the growth of regional trade agreements. We observe from the WTO information that since 1963, there were only 3 such regional trade agreements. It has increased up to 356 in 2023. Continuously it has increased. For example, the cumulative notifications regarding the regional trade agreement, that has also increased from 4 to 585. So continuously the regional trade agreements are rising, despite the fact that multilateral trade is much more beneficial. Now, if you find the composition of regional trade agreement according to their type, here I have given the information we have received from WTO. Here on the column you will observe, for example, the customs union, there are economic integration agreement, free trade agreement, and partial scope agreement. I shall explain what is partial scope. And then the increase under different clause, either GATT or WTO. For example, GATT clause, it means enabling clause of GATT agreement, and that suggests, according to GATT clause, suggests that all the member nations should give more benefit to the less developed or developing countries, and even the developed countries should give more benefit to the developing countries. Okay, and GATT's Article 5 means the agreement, okay, regional trading bloc, which allows free movement of trade, free movement of service trade. Okay, service, in case of services, that Article 5 suggests that bloc allows free movement of different kinds of services. And GATT Article 14 suggests that the free movement of the goods, not the services, free movement of goods. So trading bloc on the basis of GATT Article 14 means free movement of goods. So you find that over time period, different regional trading agreements have been formed, and that number has continuously, it has increased over time. Okay, and the partial scope agreement means where only some commodities, specific commodities, that free movement are allowed. That is called partial scope agreement. Now, coming to the reasons behind this, the formation of regional trading agreement, the first reason is national welfare maximization. If you form regional trading agreement, then more commodities will flow, okay, between the member countries. So the total availability of commodities will rise, consumption possibility will rise, and that will lead to higher economic welfare. And there are basic arguments regarding the trade creation and trade diversion effect. There are 2 types of effect from the regional trade agreements. One is trade creation. How do you create trade among yourselves, and how do you lead to a diversion of trade, okay, from the, say, more efficient country to the less efficient country. I shall explain it with the help of a diagram. First, we are taking into account the supply curve SA of any particular commodity and demand curve of any particular commodity in country A. Now, here PXB means the price of that commodity in country B. PXR means price of commodity X, of that commodity, in the rest of the world. And here you observe that that price existing in the country B is less than that in the rest of the world. That means country B is more efficient in producing commodity X because it can sell that commodity at a lower price. Now, country A imposes tariff. So when it imposes tariff, that inclusive of tariff, the price of that commodity in country A is price of that commodity in country B plus tariff. So this import was to the extent of Q2, Q3. That means at price PXA, where PXA equals to PXB plus T is tariff, then your demand is up to not Q3, but your supply is not Q2 in your economy, so that was the import. Now, if you form that regional trade agreement between country A and B, what happens? You withdraw the tariff. When you withdraw the tariff, the price of country A for that commodity comes down equal to the price that is existing in country B. Then what will happen? There will be a consumer surplus gain. What is the consumer surplus gain? As you know from your microeconomic concept, it is equal to the area A plus small a plus small b plus c plus d. That is consumer surplus gain. But there will be a loss in producer surplus. What is that? That area A, loss in producer surplus. There is another loss in tariff revenue for the government. That is area C. So what is your positive gain? A plus B plus C plus D. What is the negative one? A and C. So if you deduct A and C from A plus B plus C plus D, what do you gain? There is a net gain of B plus D. So in this way, here you can show that this is the trade creation effect. That means when the countries club together, they form the regional trade agreement, there is a net benefit if you collaborate with a country which is more efficient compared to the rest of the world, compared to the other countries. This is number one. Number two, I am using another diagram to explain the trade diversion effect. Here we assume that country B is less efficient compared to the rest of the world. For example, there are three countries. One is country A, other is country B, the other is country C. C, you can think of the rest of the world. Here in the diagram, please see that price of commodity X, which is there in country B, it is higher than that of rest of the world. That means here country B is inefficient compared to the rest of the world. And the country A, it imposes tariff on the price which is existing in the rest of the world. So price inclusive of tariff in country A is equal to price existing in the rest of the world plus the tariff. Okay? Now, if country A and country B, they form one trading bloc, what will happen? Then price of country A will come equal to, the price of country B. Then what will be the gain? Again, the same thing. The gain will be consumer surplus, A plus B plus C plus D. But what will be the loss? Loss will be first the producer surplus, area A, and in terms of the revenue loss for the government. That is C plus E. So what is the net gain? The net gain will be A plus B plus C plus D minus A plus C plus E. So the net benefit will be B plus D minus E. So whether you gain after the formation of the regional trading bloc or you lose, that will depend upon the absolute value of E and B plus D. If E is higher, then there will be loss. If B plus D is higher in absolute terms, then there will be a gain. Therefore, trade diversion means you are shifting through the formation of trading bloc, you are shifting from more efficient source of your import to the less efficient source of your import. So from this discussion, what you realize that through the creation of regional trading bloc, you can have trade creation effect, you can have trade diversion effect. Now, can you give me this answer to this question, that if there is a reduction in the gap between the price existing in the rest of the world and the price existing in country B, then what would be the possible impact on the trade diversion effect? Now, welfare gain from the regional trading bloc can also be explained with the help of the production possibility curve, social indifference curve, and the price line. As I have already explained in my last module, here what we observe is that before the formation of the trading bloc, that a particular country, its price line is PT naught. Please see the slope, it is flatter. Why it is flatter? What is the slope? Slope is price of commodity X divided by price of commodity Y. So you import, say, a tariff on your importable. What is your importable item here? Importable item is Y. For example, you see, when you produce at point E and consume at point A, then actually you are producing more of X compared to your consumption need. So your export was ME. What is the import of Y? Import of Y was AM. Why? That is called the trade triangle. What is your import and what is your export? Therefore, when you impose more tariff on commodity Y, PX by PY, Y is now higher. So PX by PY will be lower. So therefore, the price line is flatter. Okay. Now, if you form the trade bloc and reduce the tariff, so PY will fall. So PX by PY. As PY falls, PX by PY will rise. Please see, PT1, the price line becomes steeper in the diagram. Please see, it is steeper. So your production point shifts from E to F. That is, you are now producing more of X and you are consuming at point B. So when you consume at point B and produce at point F, what amount you are exporting now? NF amount of X you are exporting, more export. And you can also import more. Please see, BN. That means the trade triangle, the size of the trade flow is now higher. And you are moving on from a lower SIC, social indifference curve, indicating a particular level of utility, to a higher SIC. That means now your utility level in the society as a whole becomes also more than before. In this way, you can explain how, by the formation of trading bloc, you can gain from this formation. Okay. Now, coming to another explanation with the help of trade offer curve. Now, offer curve, what is offer curve? As you know from your, I think you have already studied international trade, offer curve means the amount of exportables that the country is going to offer for certain amount of import. Okay, that is called the offer curve. Now, here, the offer curve looks like this. This red line indicates the offer curve of country 1. Please see, along the horizontal axis, commodity X, it means the importable of country 1 and exportable of country 2. And along the vertical axis, what you measure commodity Y, which is the exportable of country Y and country 1 and importable of country 2. So, OC2 indicates the offer curve of country 2. When it intersects, it determines the international price ratio, and it also indicates the equilibrium terms of trade. For example, if you observe the utility level, okay, it has achieved through that free trade, okay, at that point where the SIC, social indifference curve, of country 1 and country 2, they are also tangent to that price line. So this is an ideal situation. But now, if country 1 or country 2 imposes tariff, then tariff distorted offer curve will tilt. Please see how. These are the tariff distorted offer curve. OC2, OC1T and OC2T. These are tariff distorted offer curve. Now, a part of the import, they actually pay to the government as tax. Therefore, for same amount of export, okay, same amount of, for example, country 1's import, a part for that import, what amount you were just sacrificing in terms of your exportable, a part goes to the government. Therefore, if you consider the tariff distorted offer curve, please see the volume of the trade, okay, export and import also declines. Please see at point F, it is less. So when the country forms the regional trading bloc, then it moves from the tariff distorted offer curve to the without tariff offer curve, the free trade, okay? And that indicates higher volume of trade and higher level of social welfare. In this way, you can indicate the gain from the regional trade agreement. Now, Paul Krugman, a famous economist, he says that through the formation of regional trading bloc, the country can also gain from the varieties of the commodities. It is called love for variety. Normally, the people, with the growth of the economy, they want different varieties of commodities. So when you make a trading bloc, okay, agreement between the member nations, then you can exchange different varieties of commodities. In this way, you can meet that particular demand arising out of the common people, okay. And you can also attract foreign direct investment through the formation of that particular trading bloc. Normally, what happens when the foreign investors, they want to invest in any particular country, okay, they want to choose such country, the country where the government has adopted reform measures, okay, and given their fund, okay, they are searching. Now, there are so many developing countries, so the countries which form regional trading bloc, they want to attract that foreign direct investment. Unilaterally, it is very difficult for a country to attract foreign direct investment. But when you club together, you form that regional trading bloc, then it becomes easier for those countries to attract foreign direct investment in that particular bloc. Okay, so this is another argument of the gain from the formation of regional trading bloc. Thereby, you can attract the foreign direct investment. Okay, now from this discussion, okay, what we actually get from this discussion is that you can analyze in different ways, okay, the gains that you receive from the trading bloc. What you have received, that means there can be the trade creation, okay, or there can be trade diversion. When the countries they form a particular agreement, okay, there can be different types of say countries. For example, some large countries, some small country. Okay, now the large countries, they want to say protect their own interest. For example, when you observe European Union, when you observe, for example, SAARC, okay, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, where India is also there. India, Myanmar, Maldives, except Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan. So when there is a clear say difference between the South, okay, developed country, and the North and South, the less developed country. So the less developed countries, why they want to form? They want to form this type of regional cooperation for increasing their bargaining strength. Okay, so when individually, if any country wants to say bargain with some of the developed or other developing countries, it may fail because the bargaining strength is less. But when you form a particular regional trading agreement, then your bargaining strength is more. Okay. For example, after the fall of the Soviet Russia, USSR, in 1991, you will observe that post-Soviet Russia, those countries, they have also formed some sort of union. Okay. And why they have formed? Because politically, they want to fight against the developed capitalist countries. Okay. So if politically and economically you want a balance between different parts of the globe, then you must have that bargaining strength. Now, what is the most important problem here? The problem is we want a clear-cut increase in the flow of goods and services through multilateral trade. Very good. But when you proceed in that particular way, what you observe in reality, there's a difference of that the interests between the developed and developing countries. Okay, the developed countries, they want to expand their the market, and the less developed or developing countries, they want also that growth and minimize the problems they face. Therefore, normally what we observe that through this regional trading cooperation, okay, the forming the regional trading bloc, although the question is objective is multilateral trade, objective is maximizing the global welfare through multilateral trade, but ultimately what we observe is that the different regional trading blocs are formed and they try to bargain, and through that what we observe, there can be theoretically trade creation, okay, that gain that becomes gainful for most of the less developed developing countries, and there can be trade diversion effect, as I have already explained. That trade diversion means you are shifting from a more, say, efficient country to less efficient country. So the question is, when you are forming that regional cooperation, yes, your bargaining strength is increasing. Okay, you can bargaining more strong with a strong standpoint with some of the developed countries, and you can also say get a scope of getting say enabling clause of GATT's, okay, GATT agreement. So in a world which is governed by WTO, yes, there are differences between the developed and developing countries, but still we observe that due to that skeptic views of so many developing and less developed countries and the clear diversion, okay, between the process of growth in developed country and the process of growth in less developed countries, they want such cooperation, they want such trading bloc, because they feel that through the formation of this trading bloc, they can say, create an environment where they can survive, where they can bargain with the more developed countries of the world. And therefore, from this discussion, what we get in this module is that there are different types of regional trading agreements, okay? And despite the advantages of multilateral trade, there has been a growing trend of that regional trading agreements, okay? And there are both trade creation and trade diversion impact of regional trading agreements. And one of the most important factor here is to increase their bargaining strength and attracting the foreign direct investment. Why they want to attract the foreign direct investment? Because I have already explained in my earlier module that now the production is now actually segregated in different countries through the global supply chain, okay? Therefore, different countries now want foreign direct investment, because if they want to take up new production process, modern production process that needs huge amount of foreign investment, huge amount of, say, fixed investment, which is beyond the capacity of any particular individual small or less developed country. So from this discussion, we get an idea regarding why regional trade agreement as opposed to multilateral trade agreement. Thank you for attending this course, okay, this class. Thank you.